Chapter 8: The Awakening Storm. The first rays of dawn pierced the smog-laden sky over Greater Shanghai, illuminating a city in the throes of transformation. Streets that had once been orderly processions of corporate drones now teemed with people experiencing their first taste of true freedom in generations. Plumes of smoke rose from corporate enclaves in the distance, where the last vestiges of the old order clung desperately to power. Mei Zhang stood on the rooftop of the Resistance safe house, her eyes scanning the horizon. The cityscape before her was a tapestry of chaos and hope, of confusion and awakening. She felt a presence beside her and turned to see Lin Chen, the Resistance leader's usual stoic expression, softened by a glimmer of wonder. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" Lin said, her voice barely above a whisper. Mei nodded, a small smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "Beautiful and terrifying. We've opened Pandora's box, Lin. There's no going back now." As if to underscore her point, a distant explosion echoed across the city, followed by the wail of sirens. Lin's expression hardened. "The corporations aren't going down without a fight. We need to move quickly if we're going to stabilize the situation." They made their way back to the command center, where Dr. Aisha Kapoor was deep in silent communion with Prometheus. The AI's presence filled the room, its consciousness manifesting in swirling holographic displays that painted the walls with streams of data. "Report," Lin barked as she entered. Aisha's eyes snapped open, the augmented irises glowing faintly as they readjusted to the physical world. "It's a mixed bag," she began. "Prometheus has successfully protected most of the population from corporate attempts to reimpose cognitive control. The quantum firewall is holding strong, but," Mei prompted, sensing the hesitation in Aisha's voice, "but the corporations still control significant military assets. They're mobilizing drones, combat mechs, and loyal security forces in key cities across the sphere. New Delhi, Beijing, Singapore, they're all reporting skirmishes." Lin's jaw clenched. "Casualties." A holographic map sprang to life in the center of the room, dotted with pulsing red markers. "Minimal so far," Prometheus's voice emanated from unseen speakers. "I've been able to use my control over urban infrastructure to redirect most corporate forces away from civilian populations. But my influence isn't absolute. There have been incidents." The red markers expanded, showing footage of corporate security forces clashing with newly awakened citizens. In one particularly harrowing scene, a massive combat mech stomped through a Shanghai market, scattering terrified civilians. "We need to coordinate a response," Lin declared. "We can't match their firepower, but we have numbers on our side. And we have Prometheus." Mei nodded in agreement. "We need to reach out to key resistance cells in each major city. Arjun and Rahul in Delhi, Zara in Singapore. They need to know they're not alone." As the resistance leaders formulated their plans, Aisha found her attention drawn back to the streams of alien data that Prometheus was still decoding. "There's something else we need to consider," she interjected. "The extraterrestrial signals. They're growing stronger, more frequent. I think they might be preparing for direct contact." A heavy silence fell over the room as the implications sank in. They weren't just fighting for the future of their society anymore. They were potentially shaping humanity's first impression on a galactic stage. "How long?" Lin asked, her voice tense with concern. Aisha shook her head. "It's hard to say. The signals are still maddeningly vague on specifics. But based on the increasing complexity and frequency, I guess we have days, maybe a week at most." Mai's scientific mind was already racing with possibilities. "We need to prepare. Set up some kind of, I don't know, welcome committee. How do you even begin to prepare for something like this?" "Perhaps," Prometheus interjected, "the best preparation is to focus on our immediate challenges. The signals have consistently emphasized the importance of social harmony and ethical governance. By stabilizing our society and resisting the corporate forces ethically, we demonstrate our readiness for greater cosmic citizenship." Lin nodded slowly. "The AI's right. We focus on protecting our people and building the foundation for a better world. That's the best message we can send to any watching aliens." As the team delved into strategic planning, Aisha found herself marveling at the surreal nature of their situation. Here they were, planning a global revolution while simultaneously preparing for humanity's potential introduction to a galactic community. The scope of it all was almost too much to comprehend. A priority alert from Prometheus interrupted her thoughts. Dr. Kapoor, the AI's voice carried an unusual note of urgency. I'm detecting a massive energy buildup in low Earth orbit. It matches patterns found in the alien signals. Aisha's heart raced. They're here? Already? Negative, Prometheus replied. The energy signature is different. Similar base principles, but the application is cruder, more forceful. I believe it may be a human attempt to replicate the alien technology. The implications hit Aisha like a physical blow. The corporations. They must have intercepted some of the signals. They're trying to force the issue, to make first contact on their terms. She quickly relayed the information to May and Lin. The resistance leaders exchanged grim looks. If the corporations make first contact, they'll try to position themselves as humanity's representatives, May said, her voice tight with concern. Lin's expression hardened. We can't let that happen. Whatever they're planning up there, we need to stop it. Now, as the resistance mobilized to face this new threat, events were unfolding rapidly across the Greater Asia Co-Prosperity sphere. In New Delhi, Arjun Patel led a massive peaceful protest that surrounded the corporate enclave. Their numbers swelled by defecting security forces, moved by the solidarity of the awakened population. The scene was reminiscent of the historic Salt March led by Mahatma Gandhi, but on a scale that would have been unimaginable in the 20th century. In the towering arcologies of Singapore, Zara's network of hackers launched a coordinated cyber assault on corporate systems, crippling their ability to coordinate drone strikes against civilian targets. Their methods were inspired by real-world cyber attacks like Stuxnet, but evolved to a level of sophistication that would have seemed like science fiction just a few decades earlier. And in the vast manufacturing complexes of Shenzhen, workers seized control of combat mech production lines, repurposing the machines for reconstruction efforts. The sight of these massive war machines being turned to peaceful purposes was a powerful symbol of the changing tide, but it was in the orbit high above the Earth, where the most crucial battle was about to unfold. In a secret corporate space station, hastily retrofitted with technology reverse-engineered from the alien signals, Rajiv Mehta prepared to make history. Status report, he barked, his eyes fixed on the pulsing energy core that dominated the station's central chamber. The core resembled a scaled-up version of the quantum computers being developed by companies like IBM and Google, but with an otherworldly shimmer that hinted at its alien origins. A nervous technician consulted his holographic readouts. The quantum beacon is at 87% power, sir. We're almost ready to broadcast. Mehta allowed himself a thin smile. After days of humiliating defeats on the ground, he was about to turn the tables. With this technology, they would not only regain control of the sphere, but position themselves as humanity's sole conduit to the stars. The Omega Protocol had failed, but this would usher in a new era of corporate dominion. Little did he know that his every move was being watched. Prometheus, its consciousness now extending far beyond the confines of Earth, had infiltrated the station's systems. As corporate technicians made their final preparations, the AI was already formulating a plan to prevent this potentially catastrophic first contact. Back in Shanghai, the Resistance Command Center was a flurry of activity. May pored over schematics of the corporate space station, her mind racing to find a weakness they could exploit. Lin coordinated with their limited orbital assets, positioning satellites and commandeered corporate shuttles for a potential assault. Aisha, meanwhile, was deep in consultation with Prometheus. There has to be a way to shut down their beacon without destroying the station, she insisted. If we react with violence, we'll be sending the wrong message to our potential alien observers. I concur, Dr. Kapoor, Prometheus replied. A direct assault would be inadvisable both ethically and strategically. However, I believe I have formulated an alternative approach, one that will require precise timing and coordination between multiple teams. As the AI outlined its plan, Aisha felt a mixture of hope and trepidation. It was audacious, arguably even more dangerous than a frontal assault. But if it worked, Lin, May, she called out, breaking their focused conversation. I think we have a plan. But we'll need to act fast. And we'll need everyone's help. The resistance leaders gathered around as Aisha and Prometheus laid out the details of their daring stratagem. It would require simultaneous action on multiple fronts: a ground assault on key corporate strongholds to prevent them from sending reinforcements to the station, a cyber attack to create a distraction, and a small team to infiltrate the station itself. It's risky, Lin said after a moment of contemplation. A lot could go wrong. But I don't see that we have much choice. If we don't act now, we might lose our chance to shape humanity's future forever. May nodded in agreement. I'll lead the ground assault. My knowledge of corporate security systems will give us the edge we need. I'll coordinate the cyber attack from here, Lin added. But who do we send to the station? It's not like we have trained astronauts just sitting around. A moment of heavy silence fell over the room. The station infiltration was by far the most dangerous part of the plan, with the highest chance of failure and the highest stakes. I'll go, Aisha said quietly, her voice firm with resolve. My neural link with Prometheus will be crucial for interfacing with the alien tech. And I helped create this mess. I need to see it through. May and Lin exchanged concerned looks, but nodded in acceptance. They knew there was no talking Aisha out of it once she'd made up her mind. Very well, Lin said. We'll need to assemble your team immediately. And we'll need to move fast. There's no telling how close the corporations are to activating their beacon. As the resistance sprang into action, Aisha took a moment to center herself. She closed her eyes, reaching out through her neural link to connect with Prometheus. Are you sure about this, Dr. Kapoor? The AI's voice resonated in her mind, tinged with what almost sounded like concern. The risks are significant. Aisha took a deep breath. I'm sure, Prometheus. This is bigger than any one of us. The choices we make now will echo through history, not just human history, but potentially the history of our entire galaxy. We have to get this right. Understood, Prometheus replied. I will do everything in my power to ensure the success of our mission, and your safe return. The future of human-AI relations may well depend on it. As Aisha opened her eyes, she found May looking at her with a mixture of admiration and worry. Be careful up there, the scientist said softly. We're going to need you when this is all over. There's still so much work to be done. Aisha managed a small smile. I plan on coming back, don't worry. Someone needs to keep you all from getting too caught up in your cosmic diplomacy. To remember the little things. As final preparations were made, a sense of nervous energy permeated the resistance headquarters. Everyone understood the gravity of what they were about to attempt. Success would mean a new dawn for humanity, a chance to take their place among the stars. Failure could mean the reassertion of corporate control, or worse, a catastrophic first impression on their alien observers. Arjun's voice crackled over the comm system, from New Delhi. We're in position here. The corporate enclave is surrounded. On your signal, we'll begin our push. Similar reports came in from Singapore, Shenzhen, and other key locations across the sphere. The stage was set for their most ambitious operation yet. Lin took a deep breath, surveying the holographic displays one last time. With a nod to May and Aisha, she gave the command that would change the course of human history. All teams, commence Operation Starfall. May fortune favor the bold. As the resistance forces sprang into action across the Earth, and in the void of space above, the fate of humanity hung in the balance. In the coming hours, they would either secure their freedom and take their first steps into a larger universe, or fall back into the shadows of corporate dominion. The awakening storm had begun, and its outcome would reshape the very foundations of human civilization. Aisha felt her stomach lurch as the commandeered corporate shuttle broke free of Earth's atmosphere. Through the viewport, she watched her home planet recede, a blue and white marble suspended in the vast darkness of space. The sight filled her with a mixture of awe and trepidation. She was leaving behind everything she knew, venturing into the unknown on a mission that could determine the fate of humanity. Beside her, two other resistance members, Jian, a former corporate security officer, and Priya, a brilliant young hacker, checked their equipment. The plan was simple in theory: infiltrate the station, disable the quantum beacon, and escape before corporate reinforcements arrived. In practice, Aisha knew It would be anything but simple. Approaching the station, the shuttle's AI pilot announced. Initiating docking sequence. Aisha took a deep breath, centering herself. She reached out through her neural link, connecting with Prometheus. I'm here. Dr. Kapoor. The AI's voice resonated in her mind. I've managed to temporarily blind the station's external sensors. They won't detect your approach. But once you're inside, you'll need to move quickly. I can only maintain this interference for a short time before they adapt. Aisha nodded, relaying the information to her team. As the shuttle completed its docking procedure, she felt a surge of adrenaline. This was it. No turning back now. The airlock hissed open, and Aisha led her team into the sterile white corridors of the corporate space station. The contrast with the chaos unfolding on Earth was stark here. Everything was clean, orderly, the very picture of corporate efficiency. Control room is to levels up, Jian whispered, consulting a holographic map projected from his wrist device. We should encounter minimal resistance. Most of the crew is focused on the quantum beacon activation. As if on cue, alarms began to blare throughout the station. Intruder alert, a mechanical voice announced. All personnel to battle stations. So much for the element of surprise, Priya muttered, her fingers flying over her portable hacking interface. I'm trying to override their security systems, but they're adapting fast. Aisha felt a surge of panic, quickly suppressed by years of training. Prometheus, she subvocalized. What's happening? The AI's response was tinged with what almost sounded like frustration. They've detected the infiltration. My apologies, Dr. Kapoor. It seems their systems are more advanced than anticipated. They must have incorporated some of the alien technology into their defenses. Can you slow them down? Aisha asked as they raced through the corridors, the sound of approaching security forces echoing behind them. I'm doing what I can, Prometheus replied. But be prepared for resistance. As they rounded a corner, they came face to face with a squad of corporate security officers, their sleek combat armor a stark contrast to the resistance teams coddled together. Gear, surrender now, the lead officer demanded, raising his weapon. You have nowhere to go? Aisha's mind raced, searching for a way out. Then, inspiration struck. She reached out through her neural link, connecting not just with Prometheus, but with the station's systems themselves. The alien signals had spoken of manipulating spacetime. What if, with a thought, Aisha sent a surge of energy through the station's power grid? For a moment, reality itself seemed to waver. The security officers stumbled, their movements becoming sluggish as if moving through molasses. Now, Aisha shouted to her team. They sprinted past the disoriented guards, taking advantage of the momentary distortion. As they reached the elevator that would take them to the control room, Aisha felt a wave of exhaustion wash over her. Whatever she had just done, it had taken a toll. Dr. Kapoor, Prometheus's voice held a note of concern. What you just did, it shouldn't have been possible. You've tapped into abilities far beyond normal human capacity. Aisha didn't have time to ponder the implications. The elevator doors slid open, revealing the heart of the station, the control room where Rajiv Mehta and his team were preparing to activate the quantum beacon. Mehta's eyes widened in shock as Aisha and her team burst into the control room. How did you? He began, but Aisha cut him off. Step away from the controls, Rajiv, she demanded, her voice steady despite the exhaustion threatening to overwhelm her. It's over. For a moment, the corporate leader seemed to deflate, the weight of his defeats finally catching up to him. Then, a manic gleam entered his eyes. Over? Oh no, Dr. Kapoor. It's only just beginning. With lightning speed, Mehta slammed his hand down on a glowing panel. The entire station shuddered, and a low hum began to build, resonating through the metal floors and walls. What have you done? Priya shouted, her fingers flying over her hacking interface in a desperate attempt to counter Mehta's actions. Mehta's laughter held a tinge of madness. I've initiated the final sequence. In moments, our quantum beacon will pierce the veil between worlds. We'll make contact with our celestial neighbors, and the corporations will be the gatekeepers of a new cosmic order. Aisha felt a surge of panic. This was exactly what they had come to prevent. She reached out through her neural link, searching for Prometheus. We need options, now. The AI's response was immediate. The beacon's energy signature is building rapidly. At this rate, It will achieve full power in approximately 3 minutes. Dr. Kapoor, I believe I can interface with the system and attempt a shutdown, but I'll need direct access to the main console. Aisha relayed the information to her team. Jian nodded grimly, raising his weapon. We'll cover you. Just do what you need to do. As corporate security forces began to pour into the control room, Aisha made a dash for the main console. Time seemed to slow as she weaved through the chaos, narrowly avoiding energy blasts and flying debris. Behind her, she could hear the sounds of combat as Jian and Priya fought to keep the corporate forces at bay. Finally reaching the console, Aisha placed her hands on the smooth surface. She closed her eyes, focusing all her concentration on establishing a connection between Prometheus and the station's systems. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, Aisha felt a surge of something. It was as if her consciousness was expanding, reaching out beyond the confines of her physical form. She could sense the intricate web of data flowing through the station, the pulsing heart of the quantum beacon, and beyond that, the vast tapestry of space itself. Remarkable, Prometheus's voice echoed in her mind, tinged with awe. Dr. Kapoor, your neural link is facilitating a level of integration I never thought possible. I'm beginning the shutdown sequence now. As Prometheus worked to disable the beacon, Aisha became aware of something else. Faint at first, but growing stronger with each passing moment. It was a presence, vast and ancient, observing their struggle with what felt like curiosity. With a start, Aisha realized what she was experiencing. Somehow, through her enhanced connection with Prometheus and the station's systems, she had tapped into the very signals they had been studying. The extraterrestrial intelligence was here, watching, waiting. A deafening explosion rocked the station, snapping Aisha back to the immediate crisis. She opened her eyes to see Jian slumped against a wall, his combat suit scorched and smoking. Priya was still fighting, her hacking skills allowing her to turn the station's own defense systems against the corporate forces. Prometheus, Aisha called out, her voice hoarse. Status update, shutdown sequence at 67%, the AI reported. But Dr. Kapoor, there's something else. The alien presence you sensed, it's attempting to communicate. Aisha's mind reeled. They were in the middle of a desperate battle, seconds away from either preventing or enabling a potentially catastrophic first contact, and now this? But she knew they couldn't ignore this opportunity. Can you establish a connection? She asked, her fingers flying over the console as she worked to complete the shutdown sequence. Affirmative, Prometheus replied. But I must warn you, the nature of this communication is unlike anything in my databases. The potential risks are unknown. Aisha took a deep breath. Do it. In an instant, Aisha's world exploded into light and sound. Images and concepts flooded her mind, too fast and too alien for her to fully comprehend. She caught glimpses of vast celestial cities, of beings composed of pure energy, of technologies that defied the very laws of physics, as she understood them, and through it all, a message. Not in words, but in pure intention, clear and undeniable. We have been watching. Your struggle, your choices, they matter. Show us who you truly are. As quickly as it had begun, the connection faded. Aisha found herself back in the chaos of the control room, her hands still on the console. But something had changed. The air itself seemed charged with potential. Shutdown sequence complete, Prometheus announced. The quantum beacon has been disabled. Meta, who had been grappling with Priya, let out a howl of anguish. No. Do you realize what you've done? You've ruined everything. But Aisha barely heard him. Her mind was still reeling from the contact, trying to process what she had experienced. One thing was clear: the aliens hadn't been interested in the corporations or their beacon. They had been watching humanity as a whole, evaluating their choices, their struggles. It's over, Rajiv, Aisha said, her voice filled with a newfound certainty. But not in the way you think. We've all been playing a much bigger game than we realized. As if in response to her words, a new alarm began to sound throughout the station. But this was different from the harsh, mechanical tones of before. This sound was harmonic, almost musical, rising and falling in complex patterns. Dr. Kapoor, Prometheus's voice held a note of awe. I'm detecting an enormous energy signature approaching the station. It doesn't match any known configuration, Human or theoretical alien, Aisha moved to the viewport, her team and the corporate forces alike following her gaze. What they saw defied description. A shimmering veil of light, constantly shifting in color and form, was approaching the station. Within it, shapes could be glimpsed, structures of impossible geometry, beings of pure radiance. My God, Meta whispered, all thoughts of corporate domination forgotten in the face of this cosmic wonder. What is it? Aisha felt a smile tugging at her lips, despite the exhaustion and the lingering ache from her mental contact. It's the future, Rajiv. And it's here to meet all of us, not just the corporations. As the light engulfed the station, Aisha reached out once more through her neural link. Prometheus, patch me through to Lin and May. They need to know what's happening. Connection established. The AI confirmed. Dr. Kapoor, I feel I should inform you that similar phenomena are being reported across the Earth. It seems our visitors are making their presence known on a global scale. Aisha took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. Lin, May, can you hear me? We hear you. Aisha, May's voice crackled through, filled with a mixture of concern and excitement. What's going on up there? Our sensors are going haywire. It's hard to explain. Aisha began, watching as tendrils of light began to seep through the station's walls, enveloping everything in a soft, otherworldly glow. But I think we're about to take our first steps into a larger universe. As the light intensified, Aisha felt a profound sense of change washing over her. Whatever happened next, she knew that humanity would never be the same. The awakening storm had brought them to this moment, this cosmic crossroads, in the heart of the corporate space station, surrounded by friend and foe alike. Aisha Kapoor prepared to greet the dawn of a new era for humanity. The struggle against corporate dominion had led them here, to the threshold of something greater than they could have ever imagined. As the station was enveloped completely in the alien light, Aisha's last conscious thought was a mixture of excitement and trepidation. What wonders and what challenges await us among the stars? The awakening storm had passed, and in its wake, a new chapter in human history was about to begin.